Hi everyone, my name is Ruele and welcome to our podcast, and this is take 2.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. We have Ruele today with us, and yes, we were technically challenged this week.
Oh my god, last week.
So this is our take 2. And as usual, we're going to start with how we met and what we have been doing and what we are going to do very soon. Would you like to tell us who you are and introduce yourself?
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Ruele, a communications and content strategist. I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya. I run a podcast called Sex Ed by Relations. I also have a side podcast called Love Matters. So Sex Ed by Relations is a podcast where we get to talk about matters HIV, matters human rights, and any and everything in between. And now on Love Matters podcast, here is where things become spicy. Here is where we talk about matters sex, HIV prevention. We get to talk about conversations you basically don't have as parents to you as a youth person. I'm running an online campaign called Making Prevention Cool Again, where we champion for HIV prevention across the entire globe. So if this is something you're looking at, especially based on the high-level meeting that just happened recently, I am looking for you, all right? We have to keep our government accountable. Thank you.
Look at that introduction. Do you remember how we met?
I do. Okay. So, this was years back. I can't remember, but let me say 2021, 2022. I had just started doing podcasts, okay? Sex Ed by Relations was just fairly new. I had put a few episodes out, and then there was this call by Y Plus Global looking for a podcaster. I was like, okay, so this is something I do, so why can't I apply for it? So I did go out and apply, and I got this wonderful email saying that later on, hi, we are pleased to inform you that you have been shortlisted as part of the candidacy. And yeah, that's where I met Ozlah. And Ozlah was like, we're doing a regional campaign for this podcast called My Reality Podcast, where we're having youth advocates from Africa's region, 8 countries to be specific, and take up the job and do the job, you know.
Okay, I wasn't selecting the consultant. Let's start there. There was no nepotism.
Okay.
Yeah, we officially met while I was still working for Y Plus Global, and I was part of the Love Alliance project to create a Pan-African human rights movement, bringing together communities living with HIV and affected by HIV, and we were trying to basically come up with an advocacy plan. And as part of it, we had young people from key populations and young people living with HIV. So we did this podcast series that we called My Reality, where we talked about the lived realities of young people living with and affected by HIV. And that's how we met. We did a whole production online, which was again technically very challenging at certain points.
Oh my god. But everyone was fresh, everyone was very new to this. So also the youth advocates coming in for the young emerging leaders. Everyone was so green, including me. So hey, there we go.
Yes,
we did amazing.
But I loved it. I really, really loved it. And I think people loved it as well. And actually after that, again for the Love Alliance project, I ended up coming to Nairobi for a meeting. And then we got to meet in person.
We did. That was so amazing. You want to talk about it?
I went to a gay bar in Nairobi.
This bitch.
Which you criticized and started screaming when I told you.
No, see what happened was, we met for drinks in the afternoon. It was all nice. It was a restaurant in CBD. We had a good time. It was like for 2-3 hours. And then everyone was going home. This ninja was on a cab back to his hotel, only for him to later on text and say, I'm at a gay bar in CBD. I know the gay bar they're talking about, and that's like the craziest place. Like you tell someone that club, and they immediately go like, how did you survive in that club? So hey, come on, do not blame me.
The story is, we went out with our friends in the city. We went to a club, like a fancy, I don't want to say European, but a very Western club, or it was very Western to me, which I did not like. And then earlier that day, we have also done a site visit to a community-led HIV sexual health clinic. And I met some guys there, and they told me they were going to go out that night. So I messaged some of them on Instagram, and they just sent me a pin, and I took an Uber and went there. It was one of the sketchiest places I've ever been in my life. But the funny thing is, there was this bar in my hometown that is very similar to this one. And it just brought me back to my teenage years. When I was this shy gay boy, I would go there and I would party there. Not safe at all. And
and let me tell you, friend, what you actually don't know is that it's not the safest place in town. It is absolutely not the safest place in town. It's considered downtown in our city, so you took a really wild risk. And who comes into this country and in less than 24 hours is already in a gay bar?
Me.
You people cut me off. Oh my gosh. You need to pay me back. I need to come to Turkey now.
I don't go to Turkey. Why do you want to go to Turkey? Let's bring you to Switzerland.
That's it. Hey, that's also an option, okay?
If you go to Turkey, send me videos. That's all I can say.
Oh my God. Okay.
No, last time I entered the country, I was almost arrested, so I am low-key afraid of going back now. And I also, 2 weeks ago, told my parents I'm not coming this summer. It's been a year since I haven't been back. And I told my parents, let's meet at Greek islands or somewhere, because I cannot enter the country safely anymore. But that's another drama. But no, I loved it. I love Nairobi. I am still wearing the bracelet that we took together.
You are. You see, aside from so we have two national symbols, okay?
Yeah.
Allow me to call it that. So we have the Kenyan one that's still made with the same design of beaded work. And then we have that. So if you wear that, you are part of the sisterhood. So
I am always a sister. So basically, that's how we met, and that's how we know each other. We did a podcast series together. We met in Nairobi, and now, would you like to tell people what we are planning to do, or what we are actually doing?
Drum rolls, drum rolls, drum rolls. Okay, so if you are attending IAS 26 in Rio, in Brazil, we do have an installation called the Yellow Chair. So Yellow Chair is an installation that will be at Global Village, where you come and get to have conversations that will not be said in the room. So here we're looking for drama. So it's an installation, 3 minutes maximum, where it's unfiltered and we get to hear conversations that are not mentioned inside the room. So that's a project we're currently working on. It's called Yellow Chair. So please, if you see a big ass yellow chair or something yellow with lights and cameras, give us your 3 minutes of fame and leave your imprint. That's what we're working on this year. Yeah.
Absolutely correct, but not all of it. He only promoted the part that he came up with. He only promoted his idea.
I can't take everything, okay? If I take everything, what will you be left with? Guys, come on in. Yeah.
I wanted to create a platform that has a group of young people, and they go to the conference and they basically come back to our care and report from the conference. That includes scientific sessions, Global Village, oral abstracts and presentations, hopefully by young researchers. And as you said, Yellow Chair is going to be the more community-focused and Global Village-focused part, where we will try to capture moments and reflections from the Global Village by the attendees. Yeah. And then we will also have young people, hopefully still working on things, young people attending scientific sessions and reporting back what they understood, what was nice, what was not nice, and also young researchers promoting their own research and helping us break down science on social media. That is the plan.
You see, how was I supposed to start mentioning on scientific things? You see, I'm community. I'm the brains, right? You have a degree on this, okay? I'm doing community work because that's where I'm the best at. But let's see how this came to actually be was when Oz was in Nairobi and we were having the cocktails. And then we were having conversations about IAS. And then I mentioned I have never been to an IAS conference. I have applied, I have written abstracts, I've looked for scholarships. The furthest I have ever gotten to an IAS conference was an abstract that went through, was when the conference was happening in Australia. My abstract went through, so I was trying to get support to attend the conference, and never happened. So in like 5 years, I have never been to an IAS conference, and I mentioned that to Oz, and he was like, "How, bitch? How have you never been to an IAS conference?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's how I have never been to an IAS conference." And so when this year started, and the planning phases and announcements were made, Oz was like, "You know what? I've been thinking about what you said, and let's collaborate and work on our care together." I was like, that's one of the most thoughtful things that I have ever received. Like, you paid attention and you listened and you brought me on board to create this amazing project that is going to be happening at every conferences, okay?
Well, I tried to, but it didn't exactly happen because, yes, I was coming up with project proposal and writing things up, and I didn't want to be alone on the ground. And I started thinking, who else can I have on the ground with me to support, and we can record each other and create content? And I was like, ooh, Ruele. And then I immediately called you, of course, remembering what you said.
And this is not just about our care. This goes out to other youth-led initiatives that are doing amazing work. Because what I love to say is, if there is track record and proven record, especially on skills, and this is something that can be scalable into other conferences at the same time, it's important to support such initiatives because we already have connection to community. Oz has connections to scientific. So having such initiatives supported and funded would really change a lot to getting the conversations that are happening in conferences to how it's affecting people outside conferences. Because when we have to end AIDS as a public health threat by 2030, the people need to know what's happening in such rooms. So that's where our care and initiatives like Yellow Chair come in. So when funders are not able to support such, it creates a really huge gap when it comes to championing for youth-led initiatives. Yeah.
The most annoying thing about this whole fundraising process was we wrote the proposal down, sent the proposal to pharma companies and different agencies and funders. Almost everyone we sent it to loves the idea, they agree with the goal, they agree with the objectives, and agree that it's important, but then they don't want to fund it because their funding criteria do not allow them, apparently, equals logistics, to attend conferences. And since I entered the field, community attendances at conferences are important, but young people's attendance is even more important to ensure the information will be translated and passed on to newer generations. And newer generations are not living with the idea of HIV from the 80s and 90s, and also should know what's coming in the pipeline in the coming years. I've also taken people to conferences, and what most often happens, if they do not have a scientific background, they are afraid or hesitant to attend the scientific sessions because the jargon is different, people are different, there are a bunch of doctors who may be authority figures in their countries and they may not want to challenge or ask questions to them. So many young people stay within the community spaces and do not mingle in the scientific space of the conference. So I want to blur those lines. That's also why I went and did that degree, because I wanted to be qualified and also be able to understand and pass information on to others, right? So that's what we will try to do. But this time I will be in Rio recording on the ground, and Ruele will be giving us more directive and editorial input and create all the visuals that you will see on social media.
I do believe it's an amazing initiative that hasn't been done before, and it's not posting from a conference POV. You see how conferences always happen is a conference is amazing, a conference has been done, but then afterwards, and during the conference, the relevant organizations will be posting it from an organizational POV, like, oh, you know what, we are in Botswana, if I can use the HIV and adolescent conference last year. We're in Botswana, we finished that, and then after it's gone. But you see, when it comes to Yellow Chair, oh my gosh. When it comes to Yellow Chair, Oz is tackling the scientific, I'm tackling community, and conversation doesn't stop even after the conference ends because we're having updates that are even coming in after. And these information has been tailored to specifically target the new generation, the youth, right? So it's not the jargons, the PDFs. It's visual art, it's visual representation. And that's the in thing. So please don't steal our idea, okay?
We will not publish the episode early enough for them to steal anyways. But I have a couple of questions before we wrap up for you. First one, What are
Yeah.
you excited
Yeah.
to see from the conference? Any scientific topics, any community activities?
I want to see the conversations around the HIV cure, where we are at, because I did attend a few conferences around cure, but I want to see what happens right now, especially after the funding cuts have happened. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to. AI, conversations around AI and how that relates to testing, to tracking, to even predicting what the future is going to look like when it comes to HIV prevention and AI or technology majorly. And lastly, looking at PrEP uptake, especially among young people. We are having all this PrEP and prevention options available, but the uptake is generally not up to par. So if we're ending HIV as a public health threat by 2030 and PrEP not being uptaken in the right ways, then I need to figure out how best we can be able to get more young people into enrolling themselves in PrEP and retaining them in care, because it's one thing to initiate, but retainment is also another conversation. So I think those three are my main things that I'm going to be looking out for from this conference.
Yeah. And I also want some shade. That's why I love the yellow chair idea, yellow chair bit of the proposal, because that is the community space where we can also ask people, what did you love today? And what did you not love today? Or if you attended sessions, who was missing in the sessions? Who should have been mentioned that wasn't mentioned? Did you feel like it was targeting or addressing the needs of your communities or not? Because these are conversations that we have at conferences among each other, but I feel like we don't have them in public, and I want to maybe encourage people to have them in public. And Cure, I am speaking at the Cure pre-conference, and I'm one of the Cure advocacy fellows for IAS, so we will definitely have Cure coverage. We did go through the proposal with you and identified sessions and reached out to speakers, and we will try to get a hold of them during the conference somehow, and we will also be interviewing NGOs and capturing activities they have organized to give a broad coverage from the conference and see what happens. And
I'm actually so excited.
Me too. Is there anything else you wanted to mention in this podcast that we didn't touch upon? How do you feel?
I think we did cover most of it, but this goes out to the youth advocates. Please, it's your conference, right? It's your conference, so please speak up, because what you don't say in the conference, you just go back home with. Then, and you have policymakers, you have funders, you have change makers in the same conference. Use your voice to create the change you want to see. We're using Yellow Chair to be able to get this information out to people. And if you come to our booth, use your voice and amplify it as loud as possible. Because it's one thing to just be in the conference, and it's another thing to participate. We can't be out here talking about youth participation, youth involvement, youth engagement. And then when youth gets there, the best thing you're doing is vlogging. Okay, that's part of the process, but please also vlog about this for your community, right? We need to see more youth people speak up and fight for their health, because at the end of the day, we have to end HIV as a public health threat by 2030. And your voice matters. And your voice is needed right now more than ever.
Absolutely. I have nothing more to say after that. But we'll definitely be doing another episode, if not more than one, after the conference to reflect back on our experiences doing such an initiative and how we can scale this up. So look out for everything we are going to produce for you.
Mwah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.